What is up, and welcome to a Let's Develop RSC video series, potentially. We'll see how this goes. I'm not going to be talking too much. It's going to be mostly just coding and looking at database rows and stuff like that. I'm working on this page right here, the game accounts page, and we've got this rename feature that I'd like to add. And what I've just decided on is that I will only allow a rename of an account once. So you can only rename once, and then after that, you're SOL. You can't rename again. I don't want to allow people to rename too often because it would just be annoying in your friends list to have to see new names all the time and be like, wait, who were you? You know? Yeah. So we're working on this rename button. I think this is going to open a modal, which is going to provide that information that I just said, and I'm just going to allow it to rename the character just once. So that's what I'm working on. So let's get into it. So I'm working on this modal. I actually have to create it. I think it's probably going to be an atom. So new. I am using Next.js and React and TypeScript to make this. Okay. And then we obviously have to make the component. So return something. I think a lot of people might be wondering why I'm putting so much effort into making the website by scratch myself, and the answer is I just want to. It's fun for me to work on it. I just haven't had a lot of time to do it lately. Alright, so it's going to receive an account object as its properties. So let's do that. For now, I'm just going to put this into the file itself. I could do something better, like put it into a side file or something. I am trying to recover from a sickness, so I might be coughing a bit. And we'll probably edit that out. Okay. So it needs to be a modal. So we've got a div, which is like the root of the modal. So modal root, and then we've got basically whatever goes in the modal. So we've got like a heading, maybe. I don't know, H3. Name, account. Okay. No, I wish to import it. Thank you. Modal root, it doesn't know what that is yet. That's fine. New file. I think that's it. Export. Const. Modal root. Style component. So it's just gonna be a basic modal. So how do you do modals again? I think we did an absolute position. So that's definitely all this stuff. something like that. So it kind of takes up like 50% of the screen, both sides. I always forget how to style modals. There's like a set of CSS that you like always use, and I'm just like completely forgetting. So the body text here is gonna be so if they've already renamed when this is shown, I wonder if we just shouldn't show it. Or if we should just show something else, like you've already renamed it. Where's this account coming from? Okay, so account is coming from accounts, which is being fetched for the user based on their ID. Okay, cool. So what I think we'll do is I think we'll make sure that's part of it. So let's look at this query. Select ID username. So we're gonna select another column here. So there's a column called former name in the OpenRC framework by default. So we can utilize this column to basically set their previous name here. So if there is a previous name here and it's not just an empty string, then we know that they've renamed. So we'll just select that, and now let's go back here. So it sets the accounts, and then it automatically casts it to an account, I think. So we're just gonna add a new thing here called former name. Okay, so now player data row. So we can just check const. We can say like player already renamed if account dot former name is not equal to that. Or we could say account dot former name dot length is greater than 0. So if they've already renamed, we're gonna do something different here. We're still gonna use a body text, but we're just gonna say something different. There's going to be like an else clause. So like if they haven't renamed, then we're going to put this. It's weird how it's not like working. There we go. I think that's right. So then there's going to be body text. Now we have to put this in a fragment because you kind of just have to have multiple elements in a fragment. Wait, am I doing this wrong? Oh, I am. Okay, there we go. So now we're gonna add the form. So basically, I don't know if it's gonna be a form as much as it's just gonna be, we're gonna track the contents of that field where they put their new name. So every time they type, we're going to just say, okay, we're going to log that into our state, into our component state. So we've got new name, and we've got set new name. So what I'm doing here is I'm just setting some state. So this is a useful thing to just set some data for this component so that I can fetch that data later. It's not really fetching it like an API would or anything like that, but it's basically just some information that the component is aware of because we're going to need it later. So we're probably going to have... Why is that so weird? It's being weird with the tabs. Am I still on 4 spaces? It's supposed to be on 2 spaces. I have to keep changing that. That's annoying. We're going to have a field here. Type text disabled true. I actually don't even have to pass anything there, and then name. Although we need to set a value for that. So how do I set a value for one of these? Is it possible? Let's try value equals okay, so that's the current name. It should be disabled because they should be able to change it because there's gonna be, I guess we can also have one field that's not disabled and it has their current name, but I'm gonna just do it this way. Not disabled. So this is where we want to link to onChange. So let me just take a look at a previous example. Handle new name change. So what handle new name change is, it's a function basically. I'm just using the stateless function component SFC syntax. There are obviously much different ways you can break components, but this is how I do it. And then here's where we need to use a previous example because we want to be able to get the value of that input or text field once we have a change. So input props. I don't think I need to do that. Okay, so set new name to event.target.value. I assume that's what this was doing. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, so this is supposed to be a name. So let's try to tell TypeScript that's supposed to be a name. It's supposed to be a string. I don't want to necessarily give it an empty string value. I guess I could. It's not a big deal. So basically, anytime this field changes, we will basically be setting our state, our information, to that. So we can always we keep track of what that is, and we can use that when we need to, which we're going to need to use that soon. So. And we're going to need a button. Variant primary is that one? Oh no, and then what else would I want? Submit. Okay. So obviously when we click this handle, we're not really submitting a form though. But whatever. And then, so when they click, and I mean, first of all, this has to be like required, right? They have to put something in there. So, secondly, RSC account names are supposed to be. You can have one that's like A, right? It can be even one letter, but the max length would be. How do you set the input max length? I forget. Max. Okay, I might need to set up a field for this. Let's see. So field is just, it's a wrapper for text field. It's a style component which just adds some CSS to text field. And text field is basically just, it's an MUI thing. So I'm thinking, does it have a, by the way, MUI is like custom React components that you can use in your project. So you don't have to build up everything manually yourself. I'm wondering if it has like a max length. Max rows. Maximum number of rows display. No. Not that. Limit? No. We need to use ye old Google. Here we go. Put a length constraint. Input props equals max length. Aha. Okay, cool. So. Wow. What's funny is the article that I just closed. The answer's max length was 12, which is exactly the length we need. Okay, so basically this is saying, I think it's going to make it so you can't enter more than 12 characters into the form, into the field. So when we get to this point, when they click submit, we know they've already entered something, right? It can't be nothing. It has to be something, and then it's max 12 characters. So we're just going to set it. It can be 12 zeros. Like, we don't care. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that in jagex servers, so I'm just going to go with that. So what we're going to have to do here, we're going to have to call the API and just tell the API, hey, set the former name to new name, or sorry, old name. And then set username to new name. So I think we're just gonna have a new API handler for this. I don't love that because we have a lot of API endpoints, and I've been trying to find a way to make it not so repetitive. Let's create a new file. So we're going to use very similar code to an existing update. What we're getting is you would need the account ID. I do need some else. Okay, I am back with halls. So what I did here is I created a new API handler called update game account username. So the update game account kind of queries, actually this is going to be a game update, so we're going to have to create a new handler, a new shared handler for this. But basically, if we just get down to what we need to do, I think we're going to need the account ID to know which account we're updating. We're going to need the current name, so that we can set that to former name, or set former name to that, and then we're going to need new name. So update players, set former name equal to current name, and set username equal to new name, and then we're going to say where ID equals account ID. So we can remove this. So set former name equals that, set username equals that, where ID is that. So let's go ahead and test this on a test account. What that means is, and sorry if this voiceover quality is bad, I have a halls in my mouth. It's literally better than not being able to talk and coughing constantly. Let's test this with a current player account. So if we just say, hey, select all from players, we get several accounts. Now this test account is mine. Let's use test account. Let's say where ID equals 4. See, I've already noticed an issue here. This ID is a number. So this needs to not be in quotes or it won't work, I think. It might have worked, I'm not exactly sure. We're going to set former name to their current name, which for now I'm just going to type in manually test account. We're going to set username to their new username, which I'm just going to name it test space account. And we're going to see if this works. So let's execute just the selection. And then let's execute the selection again. And you can see now we've renamed test account with no space to test space account. And we've set its former name to test account. So it's basically working. We just tested that our own query is working, and that's great. Now what we're going to need here is we're going to need to say handle game update. So if we look at handle website update, it's useful, but it specifically is used for manipulating website data, which is another function that just says work with the website database. Now notice there is a to-do here, which I'd like to do eventually, where it says refactor these so that you just pass the name of the database via a string. Problem with this is the other one has T, and we don't. But I don't know if there's I don't know if there's a difference. Well, before we do that, let's just say we need to create a new function. We're probably gonna remove it eventually, ideally, but let's just see. Manipulate game data. I would expect this to be very, very similar to the website one. Hold on, what did I do wrong here? Oh, I don't know. Okay. We're just gonna change website DB to GameDB. And that's basically what we need. But, I mean, this is just getting crazy now. Like, see, I don't know if we can have one function for all four because there is a different typing here. It's OK packet versus T. I also don't know why this needs to be different and why it can't be T. But we'll need to test that. It's not showing me any errors right now. So let's look at some things that call this though, like get matching users, get existing user info, get news posts, so it calls that. So let's see if that still works now that we've changed it to be identical to this one. Let's comment this out for now. Except yeah, there's still some errors here. Let's see if we can solve these temporarily. Let's just say console log. Let's just try to fetch news posts. So let's go to news. Yeah, this is still working. It's fetching news posts. This is now basically a replica of this, except it has a different DB. So what we can do is we can start by saying export const query database. And we can have it exactly the same as this, exactly. And we'll just say database is a new parameter. So const database yeah, let's call this database name. And the database is, I guess we'll just say database name equals to website, question mark. If so, use website database. Otherwise, use game database. I wonder if this is gonna work. So we're just gonna replace GameDB with database and hope that that works. So now we can just get rid of these. We'll comment them out. And we'll just try to update anything that's still calling query website. We'll use query database instead. Query database, and we'll say website. That's not actually the database name though. I guess we could say database type. That might make more sense. Database type. And instead of saying string, we can be more literal and say this is always going to be website or game, or it's not valid as an input. You'll notice that that literal parameter change I made is also helpful because it gives you like clues. So like when you start typing in strings, basically saying you can either have game or website, so that's helpful. Well, that was definitely worth it. And then now let's go back to the code and say, we can definitely get rid of these now. But now the question is, do we need to have a separate manipulate? I think we're just going to have one other function. Because I'm looking at this like OK package versus T thing, and like, let's start with website, right? Like if I change this to T now, does it work the same? I don't really know. We could try it, I guess, and see if it works. What do we call this? When a user account is created, it's called, let's see if creating an account works the same now. Log out, register. Seems to work the same. I think we're gonna go with that, and we're gonna hope that I didn't just break everything. Because it's basically the same thing, right? It's like, get this out of the way for a moment now. But like, it's basically the same thing. It's querying a database. It has the same parameters. It has a different typing, but I guess that doesn't matter. And it then says database.end and it returns results. It's the exact same thing. So I think we're just gonna have one database function and we're gonna get rid of these. And we're gonna find out if these still work. Okay, yeah, let's see if this works. So, manipulate website data. I'm just gonna say you're gonna call query database now. And you're gonna pass website. Okay, yeah, it seems to be working. I mean, there are no accounts associated with it. That's actually a call out because I need to show something else instead of just an empty table with no rows. So we've tested that. Everything's still working. We can manipulate data. We can query data using one single function. And that's great because we can get rid of all this duplicate stuff. That's awesome. And we can get rid of that to-do, which is better. Okay. So that was a good thing to do because what we want to do here is we want to say Oh, actually, hold on. We have to do this API handle first. So the code is a little different from game and website, I think. Maybe not. Let's just say handle update. And update type website or game. God dang, stop doing that. There we go. We can also just say database type. So yeah, regardless of whether it's a website or game database, basically the same thing is going to happen. We're going to execute a SQL query. We're going to check if there's an OK packet, which means it's okay. We're going to check that there's at least one affected rows and not too many, right? Although this is kind of weird because in the future we might have queries that the website runs that updates multiple, but for now this is okay. So then we return a success code with the number of affected rows. That's basically what we want. We want to know that it worked, and that's it for an update. So this should work, and we can just use the same thing. And that's it. Look how simple our code is now. It's awesome. I used to have to do it manually. Like I'd write this out all manually, but I decided to create a helper function. Yeah, so the next thing is we just need to call this. So we're gonna have to use Axios to basically call this. Axios.post API update game account username. I'm actually kind of winging it. It's easier to just go into one of these and look at how it's done, like here. I usually just forget the structure. Okay, so then we've got some fields that we got to provide, right? We got an account ID. That's account ID. We got old name, or I guess that's current name. That's account.username. And then we've got which is literally just new name, so we can just do that. And then when there's a response, this is how we usually handle this. So we just check if it's a number, which it would be, right? Because it's a number of rows that were affected. We wouldn't return it if it wasn't one, right? Because we've already looked at that code in the API layer, and yeah, basically it means there's success. When it's successful, I gotta think about what we want to do. I think if it's successful, we obviously want to show some message saying, yes, it worked. Also, I'm wondering if we should have them log out first. Because I think if it's logged in, then the game will have a lock on that account record, so we won't be able to update it. How do I want to handle this? See, I don't want to just show a message at the bottom of the button and just say, hey, it worked, because then they have to click to close the modal. I guess we could redirect them to a success page. I guess we could just reload the page, because then it would be obvious that it succeeded. Let's just set something in like local storage. Maybe something like this. So the idea is that we read this local storage string from a different page, and now we just refresh the page. So like we can remove this because we've done that. We can remove this because it's test code. And yeah, so if it succeeds, we basically just set some string and we reload the page. And so what then we have to do to support that is I wonder where we want to put this though. Oh, that's right, we need to check that. Because Next.js uses like server-side rendering sometimes. I think, although I don't think I'm using that. We might have to do it anyway. Like that. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to do the same thing here. Div cannot appear as a child of T-body. Huh. Oh, okay, there it is. Okay, yeah, so obviously we have some styling to do to make this look like a modal and not, you know. Yeah, so what we're gonna have is we're gonna have like an overlay. And within that, we're gonna have the modal. So let's put modal root within overlay. And let's define overlay. Background color, let's just say it's white, but the opacity is, let's say it's 0.5. And then this one's gonna need a background color as well. Or no, I think we'd want black. With Blackie. I love that color. Okay, so this is actually pretty smart. I'm gonna call it modal overlay. That works. Import. Import. Okay, so with what I just did, maybe this will work a little bit better. Okay, we're getting closer. So I think something's inheriting something that shouldn't. So we're getting somewhere with this. A few things we need to do. First, we need to have it not inherit opacity. So I wonder if it's as simple as saying opacity 1. No, that does not work. Interesting. I'm gonna take a break here, I think, and come back to this a little bit later. One small addendum to that. A couple things. First of all, I spelled continuing wrong. It should be continuing, not continuing. But what I just figured out is I basically solved the problem. So it looks like this now. So what I did is, the problem is if you use opacity, I was using opacity somewhere around here. It's inherited by any children. So the alternative is basically worked around, but it just sets the RGBA instead. So we just set the background color to black and then say it should have 80% opacity. So it should be 80% visible, which gives you this really cool effect where you can still see the background and, you know, but it doesn't affect the content, where you can see this without stuff going through it. Now, there's still many problems with this. Obviously, we have to prevent the user from scrolling on the page, which you can do, and then obviously this form needs to be restyled because it doesn't look great. So yeah, we'll be handling that in the next recording.